malware found on Android applications, snake ransomware in corporate environments, and the newest Citrix vulnerability. Plus, you can find out how you can be on the show. All this and more right now on Breaking Down Security.
That is the best intro ever.
Is it? Is it though?
I mean, I've been singing a CCR song all day in my head.
Oh yeah, what is it? I see the pale moon. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mr. Betcher, you got any earworms in your head as he takes a drink?
Not anymore.
Oh, did Thus Spake Zarathustra get you real good?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. All right. So for those of you listening, welcome to the 2020 season of Breaking Down Security Podcast. I am Brian Brake, and with me, as always, is Miss Amanda Berlin.
Hi.
And Mr. Brian Betcher.
Wah, wah.
Oh. Trust me.
Is 2020 like the year of the soundboard?
No, we're not going to do. It's not Morning Zoo.
Come on, man.
It's not no.
Yeah, like Monday, like morning DJ,
no.
like
no.
No.
There's enough podcasts.
We do have a
shit.
resolution to make these podcasts shorter, so we're not doing a good job right now.
Wow. Yes, I as a matter of fact, just before I hit record, I was like, yes, I only want to make these about 30 minutes now because people don't like to listen to an hour-long show, and there he goes. So thank you for joining us. If you are new to the podcast, we are a security-minded, InfoSec-related podcast. We're trying to educate people and make it so that you get a little education in your day. And if you're a CISP, welcome. You will get some CPEs for these, which I tend to post in Reddit now on r/CISP, just because it's hard. Well, it's hard to get the CISP, but it's very easy, in my opinion, to keep it. So that's my job as a CISP myself. I try to keep my certifications, even though I no longer need them.
So what do? They mail you a request and you send them a signed certificate saying that they listened to the podcast?
No. ISC is pretty easy about it. It's like you just put the name of the podcast, Breaking Down Security, how long it was, per CPE. So if it's a 45-minute podcast, it's pretty much 0.75 credits. So 1 hour of podcast is 1 CPE. And, you can do some fancy ass maths and use your Excel spreadsheets to figure out that a 35-minute, 34-minute, 34-second podcast is, so many, fractions of a credit, and they take up to, 1/100th of that credit. So it's not difficult to do. And if you get audited, you can always just send them the link to that, and they're pretty good about it. So when I listen to podcasts, I, do the same thing if I get audited, but it's not hard. I have a 45-minute commute now every day again. So, I have plenty of time to listen to podcasts and audiobooks. So, all right. Well, I'm going
to be out in Washington in April.
What?
Yep.
How come?
It's called EduCause.
EduCause.
It is so the person that I talked to explained EduCause as the Gartner for higher education.
Oh no, that's not a positive.
But this is their tech conference.
Oh, okay.
And I'm running a village there.
Oh, okay. Very cool. I wouldn't call myself the Gartner of education, though.
I feel like it seems like an easy way to explain what they're doing.
No, I hear you. You're right. Okay. So in April, do you know the dates?
Yes.
Because I went to EduCause.
April 21st to 23rd.
Oh wow, that's the weekend. That's the weekday, I think, after B-Side Seattle. B-Side Seattle is the 18th of April. So that's like in the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
It is. Yeah.
Weird.
You're gonna have to put a link because I'm seeing one EduCause in October.
Yeah.
Have a link. Hold on.
Yeah, please post
October
it in the show notes.
2020.
I will.
That would be great. And I'll, wherever it is, I'll see if I can make some time to come over and see you. So.
Where should I put this at?
Cool. Okay. All right.
This is a lot of show notes. What cow?
Sorry, I'm actually trying to change up the show note format so that we actually have more stuff in there. Some people did say it's kind of sparse. So we're going to try to put the full article and some excerpt from the article that we're referencing. That way people can kind of read it. And if they want, would you like to know more? They can click on a link and go to the full article as well. So, all right. So as we normally do the first of the year, we're just going to keep it light. We're going to talk a little news that happened over the holiday season. And we do have a segment, a proposal that we're going to bring up. Then we can, get done and finish the show. So what happened to everybody over the weekend or the holidays? What'd you all get for, Christmas or whatever?
The flu.
Oh, that's the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. It's cheap.
It does.
Yeah.
It's like a pyramid scheme.
Very nice.
It is. I was sick on the couch with my youngest. We were both like just watching Netflix for 4 days straight.
Wow. What you watching on Netflix?
I just finished Dracula, which is super
Dracula. Good. Okay.
Oh,
we finished The Witcher just recently, and I thought about Dracula. Witcher's not bad. Yeah. Normally, I don't watch a lot of those shows, but yeah, it's pretty good. I got an espresso machine, which I'm learning how to make espresso. I still have watery pucks, so I'm working on that.
Watery pucks.
Yeah, I heard there's a cream you can get to fix that, but yeah. And I've been prepping for my PMP exam, which is going to be on the 10th of March. So I'm learning all my EDOs and all that shit. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's another door opener for me. So, all right, before we get to the news, I do have the proposal. One of the things that we had talked about, and we actually brought this up kind of at DerbyCon. I think I was in a Merlot-filled haze in my brain about ways that we could add segments to the podcast. And one of the things I thought of was very similar to how the Stig is on Top Gear, old school Top Gear, where they had the the driver and the white hat and outfit, and you didn't know who he was or she was, but they would take the car to its limit. And the idea that we would like is, and because we understand that some people in the industry have extreme imposter syndrome, and they may not want to put themselves out there, or they maybe work for a company that won't allow them to speak. The idea would be that they could come on the show and we'll modify their voice and, we'll call them something, not the Stig, Mr. Robot or something like that. And you can record a 20 to 30 minute technical segment with us. If you, we'll do a video and an audio segment, and we'll modify the audio accordingly. And, we're looking to do 1 to 2 segments a month. We'll be putting out a link potentially in the show notes, if not now, on next week's show about, CFP, where people can get a hold of us. All your data would be, of course, anonymized. We would never tell anybody who it was. And you can discuss, maybe you found a nice tutorial on how to do Responder because Responder 3.0 just came out again, or, the recent Citrix vulnerability, which I think we're going to talk about later. Maybe you walk us through exactly how that worked, that kind of thing. Especially since now that there's code that's public, and Dave Kennedy put out a way of detecting that using a shell script. So it's pretty awesome. But if you're interested in that, please feel free to DM us on Twitter, or I can even send you my signal if you want to be super OPSEC-y about it. And you can, come on. We're looking for all kinds of people, whether they be he, she, or they. It doesn't matter. If you have a penchant for hacking and red teaming and pen testing, we want to hear from you. So if you're interested in doing that for us, we would appreciate it. So there you go. All right. Cool. All right. News. We're going to go ahead and start with some news. The first article is from securityaffairs.co, and it's Google removed 1,700 Joker malware infected apps from its Play Store.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It's
okay. So I read the article.
Yeah.
And I don't see anywhere in the article where it says 1,700. I see where it says 24 apps a bunch of times.
Oh, right.
But I never saw the 1,700. That may be a misprint.
Well, they said 1,700 plus, and the top thing it says Google revealed it successfully removed more than 1,700 apps from the Play Store over the past 3 years that had been infected with Joker malware. So this isn't like they did it last week. This came out on January 12th, 2020. Pierluigi Paganini wrote the article. So
also 24 over the last couple of weeks, but 1,700 in all over 3 years.
Right.
In October.
Right. What gets me is that it seems to be fairly easy to put malware in various mobile app stores.
It's easier in Google Play, right?
Is it?
I've heard.
I don't know.
They have way less checks than Apple does.
I have heard that Apple does appear to do a bit more in the way of checks.
Verifying developers and maybe I don't know. I've just heard that from people that develop apps.
Yeah, I'm trying to look to see if there's any recent news stories about malware being found on the Apple Store.
I know they're way pickier on choosing what apps
they
just allow.
I do remember, oh God, that was probably almost a decade ago, where Charlie Miller actually had managed to put an app on the App Store that was like a stock lookup finder. Charlie Miller being the gentleman who was doing a lot of car hacking later in the last decade. But and what happened was it would also do some other less than nefarious things, but he wanted to prove a point that you could actually create something and put it on there. And, it looks nice to begin with, but then it could be changed and modified. So, that was so 24 in the last week. And they said it was infected. There were spyware in 37 countries. So pretty much every country that's a Five Eyes, and Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland. They have them in alphabetical order, which is nice.
So it says the attackers perform a broad range of malicious operations, including to disable the Google Play protective service.
Mm-hmm.
So why doesn't Google just say, okay, if your app's going to disable the Google Play protective service, we're just not going to allow that? Well, I mean, why would a legit app have to disable the protective service?
Well, I'm not sure they test for it before they allow it on.
Yeah, and it could be that the initial version of the application has that in place, and then once you've been certified, a lot of the checks to update are less. So they're not looking for anything else, and they probably get hundreds of applications for inclusion a week. So the 24 that they found could be just a spot check, and they could have found there could be dozens and hundreds more in there, but. I think the bigger issue. So according to this, the Joker Malware, where is it at? It says spyware automatically signs up victims for premium service subscriptions and various advertisements. Malware is able to automate the necessary interaction with the premium offers webpage, in intercepting the SMS. So from what I read further on down, that Google has fixed that, so you can't sign up for like premium SMS, but attackers have abandoned it for what they call WAP billing. And I looked up WAP billing, the link in Wikipedia. It's like in-app purchases. So if you play Pokemon Go or something, or something like that, and it's like, oh yeah, you can go ahead and buy coins. And you just click on the buy button, and automatically the Google Play interface comes up and is like, oh, would you like to buy 100 schmeckles for, $5,000? And it's like, yes, I would like to buy that with that credit card that's on file. So you get 100 schmeckles, but now you've paid $5,000 for something in an app. So that's the premium features that people are talking about. And of course, you see and hear stories all the time about kids that have ran up their parents' credit cards because they bought a bunch of premium content inside of Fortnite, for instance, and people want their monies back. So obviously they're preying on a specific demographic in some cases, but they found that it's probably more useful than in premium SMS fraud in a lot of cases. So yeah. They said details on the Joker malware available in the full report published by Google. There's a link on the Google blog about that. Billing fraud, SMS billing, toll billing. So apparently tolls, like toll calls or something like that, are also big. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal. So,
I mean, that's how Candy Crush makes $1 million a day.
Right?
Yeah, and so does Pokemon Go. I know I've blown $40-$50 on coins so I can buy, Pokeballs and incubators.
Is that right?
Wow, that's so scathing. Did you hear him? He's like, oh, is that right? You said, oh, look at you. One of these days you'll grow up and be a real boy. Yeah, no, it's easy to get, rooked into that stuff, and it's addictive because, they make those games so that you almost have to buy that kind of stuff. So I can understand why you would, So the problem comes from what happens if you have a credit card tied to it and it may be a business card with no limit. It could get real ugly real soon, or you're installing these apps on your business phone. So
if it's a credit card, doesn't the credit card company fight that and not pay? Because it's credit, it's not debit.
That's true.
Well, I think a while back, wasn't there a class action lawsuit against Google or somebody that they didn't have enough protections in place for when kids did accidentally? Maybe it was.
I think you're right.
Maybe it was a specific app, or I don't remember, but I do remember getting like a check in the mail because like you could like prove like that your children had made purchases that they shouldn't have, and I remember that. I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
Back in 2018, there was a story about an Ohio mother that got $950 in charges made through her son's Fortnite account. So it took her.
That was not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask.
My kids just started playing Fortnite like I don't know, a month or two ago.
Oh, yeah.
That you know of.
Oh, believe me, I knew right away when they started playing.
Do gift cards work for that? Could you have something that would allow you to recharge your
I don't have a credit card tied to it, so I don't know.
Good job. Yeah. So, make sure that the apps you're using are legit apps potentially, and that you maybe unhook your credit card or actually require your credit card. A lot of it is requiring the credit card to ask for a password. Because a lot of them are be like, oh yeah, do you want this to automatically charge every time you hit buy? And that would be bad. So you can rack up the charges pretty quickly by just clicking buy or whatever.
Yeah, so just get that second verification there.
Right. Mm-hmm. If it requires a typed in password, that may help win the day. So there's more information on those on that news article if you'd like it, and we'll go ahead and move along to the second one here. This one came out a couple days ago. Good God.
No idea, though, how long I've been dealing with a citrix issue at work since the beginning of December.
Oh, my God.
What was the citrix issue?
May have something to do with this.
Oh, okay. God. I actually saw several tweets about this where it was like the MSSP, somebody had called their MSSP to find out if they use Citrix in that environment. And the MSSP said, yeah, no, we don't. And then that person scanned their MSSP's IP address range and found Citrix was in that environment. And there was a whole big mess trying to get them to fix their stuff because they were found out.
It was a Friday at like 4 p.m.
Yep.
Me realizing that one of our customers is having some issues with Citrix.
Yep.
Those are the fun ones.
Like this is way like the CVE was already out.
Yep.
I can't drop a whole lot of exactly what happened, but yeah, it was cool. It was. I can't prove that it's exactly what is happening with this.
Yeah.
Thing, but it sure does line up time-wise.
Yeah.
And with the stuff I saw triggering, I think we were just seeing it in the wild earlier than when other people had talked about it.
Yeah. So this is the over 25,000 Citrix NetScaler endpoints are vulnerable to 2019-19781, and it's about the worst thing you could ever have happen. It's unauthenticated remote code exec. It's so easy that Dave Kennedy and them had over at Trusted Sec had a detector for it for a while and had kind of kept it under wraps until some organization, I think it was called Project Zero India, which has nothing to do with the Google Project Zero, dropped that on pretty much 5:00 on Friday afternoon, last Friday on 10 January. And, yeah, I mean, Citrix, some of this article is from badpackets.net, and they found, just by show danning it up, They found 4,576 unique autonomous systems that had vulnerable Citrix endpoints on their network. And the idea is this is like almost like an SSL VPN kind of thing. There's more information in the article itself, but they said that the vulnerability affects military, federal, state, and city governments, public universities and schools, hospitals and healthcare providers, electric utilities and cooperatives, major financial and banking institutions, and numerous Fortune 500 companies. So, of course, the first 5 bullets are obviously industries where they have a lot of security on their networks, and they don't have any problems with security. That was being facetious and sarcastic. Thank you. Yeah, and
soundboard needed.
And they love them some patching.
By the way, it's a remote code executable rated 9.8.
Yeah. Why didn't they just bump it to 10? It's like, you're like right there.
Then you're just crying wolf. Everything's a 10, right?
Well, that's
They got to reserve that for,
How much more heinous could it be? Unauthenticated remote code exec where you can actually, run Monero miners and stuff on this thing by running a simple, a curl, You run a curl command, you can find out if it's vulnerable or not. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, they said further exploitation of this vulnerability could be used to spread ransomware similar to 2019 11.5.10 and cryptocurrency mining software on sensitive networks. Multiple servers are compromised by the same threat actor. They could be weaponized for coordinated malicious activities such as DDoS attacks. And that's ugly. And if you haven't spent the whole weekend, trying to patch this stuff on your Citrix, there is a mitigation, I believe. Dave Kennedy and Trusted Sec did put out a way to fix it, and they decided whether or not to release that or not. I don't know if they've actually released the fix, but there is a way to get around it. There is a workaround that can be put out before the patch actually happens. As far as I know, they haven't issued a patch yet, so. So if you did get into the office tomorrow and you haven't heard about all this, you're going to have a bad week.
I've had enough of Citrix over the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Now, do you have to log in? Do you have to be an authenticated user?
No, it's unoff.
Is it just?
It's unoff. I mean, it's like I can run the command right now on own systems. There's no username, no password, no nothing. You just need to know what an endpoint is and make it happen.
That's kind of a 10, right?
That's what I said.
That is a 10.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, it's a 9.8 and a 10. It's like, well, what's the difference?
A lot of Citrix TVs though.
Yeah. There are a lot of Citrix ones. Yeah. Citrix, Oracle,
yeah, so I worked with a client that had they had a main network and they had some branch networks, and their main network was hard to bust into through Citrix. They had two-factor authentication on.
Right.
But some of the side networks that had Citrix that allowed those networks to get into the main network, they did not require two-factor authentication for those networks.
Gods.
And so the attackers, and in this case, it was internal attackers, red teamers, were able to log into Citrix on one of the side networks and break into the main network through Citrix.
Wow.
They said it was pretty trivial to, once they had access, to get into the main.
Sure.
So just make sure that you have two-factor authentication of anything Citrix.
Right.
Because you can get a command prompt. I can get a command prompt. It's a feature.
Right.
From Citrix, right? So
yeah, the Trusted Sec website's pretty detailed on the type of logs that are executed and what's executed. It's a directory transversal at that point. So there's, they talked about some Perl code and stuff on some of the other links that I've had, but there's a number of things. The problem with this one is it's like Citrix is supposed to be used to allow you to have access to stuff on the inside. So obviously anything with a VPN, anything that is, compromised. I mean, Mr. Betcher and I used to work at the same company, and it was like whenever anything came out that affected the VPNs we were using, it was like, we need to fix this now. We always made it a priority. we always had to stress to the company why they needed to fix this, especially when, it was a major deal, because that's keys to the kingdom kind of stuff there. So, yeah. It is a directory transversal on the /VPN directory provided by NetScaler. So, and then you can run a specially crafted, I believe, XML file to make that happen. So there are numerous websites out there, and there's a link in the show notes to the Trusted Sec blog in the article we've covered that mentions it. So Mr. Betcher's a big fan of ransomware. He loves him some ransomware and some malware. And there's the final article we've got is the Snake ransomware targets entire corporate systems. It has a question mark on it. I don't know why. This is from eHacking News. Corporate system, entire corporate system. Yeah, exactly. So the ransomware is interesting. It's written in Golang. Have you ever seen anything running in Golang, Mr. Betcher?
Yes.
Really? Is that normal?
Not malware, but I've seen other things, applications running Golang. It was hotness a couple of years ago.
Really? Okay. All right.
All right.
So the malware is quite interesting. It encrypts machines' files. It deletes the volume shadow copies. Mr. Betcher, what is a volume shadow copy?
Volume shadow copy is a built-in Windows backup system.
Okay. So
Windows periodically can back up to another hard drive. Mm-hmm. It does a really good job of it. But typically ransomware, and this is the vast majority of ransomware, will just go in and delete that and then ransom everything. So you have to have offline backups to where that's not automated.
Right.
It's really helpful because it's very easily to restore files as a regular user, right? Like if somebody accidentally deletes something on their desktop, they can go into it's way easier than actually having to pull it from a real backup.
I think they call it backup and recovery now, but it is the volume shadow copy. It's really easy to use, and like you said, really easy to restore stuff.
Right.
But the problem is it's really easy to delete as well.
Right.
You never rely on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
but it's nice when it's there.
So does the ransomware have full root access then at that point? Is that why it can delete the volume shadow copies, or is it can delete anything that you or a user has access to? So if you deleted the file, you can automatically replace it, or to delete it, you have to be root. I mean, what
does it delete it or does it encrypt it?
According to the article, shadow?
It deletes it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't get it back. Yeah. It just deletes that. And then, just in case it's on another drive letter.
Right.
And they wouldn't know. It's a simple command from the command prompt. And so they just run that before they start encrypting stuff. It's what most of the antivirus EDR tools use to detect ransomware. Well, if anybody tries to delete shadows, that's ransomware, because nobody typically would just, I'm gonna run the command delete shadows. Mm-hmm. No, typically they go into the GUI and say, I don't need that backup anymore, etc.
Right. It doesn't exactly say what the vector for infection is. It just says upon successful infection, it subsequently erases the shadow copy files before ending different processes related to SCADA frameworks, network management solutions, virtual machines, and various other tools.
So you have to distinguish the dropper from the malware. There's two different types of, I guess, unwanted programs here that we're talking about. One is the dropper, and the second one is the actual malware. In this case, would be ransomware. Right. The dropper, totally separate.
Okay.
So the dropper authors, they specialize in getting something on your system, right? Whether it be a Word doc, a website running some JavaScript commands, whatever it is, they specialize in getting something to execute. And then they will typically either package the malware itself or download it. Mm-hmm. And so if I were a malware author, I could buy a dropper and, spray and pray on email addresses or whatnot. And then that dropper would download whatever malware that I authored, and I could update it and put it on specific websites. It would go to the website, download it, and typically it's a compromised website that they'll put these on.
Right. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Okay. So that article that we posted suggested using things like Tripwire for file integrity, but I don't know how well that would work if you go ahead and, it says, oh, this might have potential bad things. Do you want to go ahead and run it anyway? Yes. And I don't think Tripwire is going to stop you in that case unless it has a valid hash that it can look up, against something like VirusTotal or whatever. I'm trying to find a site that talks about removal, but the only one I found, and I'm going to have to erase, is something called Spy Hunter, and they want you to download yet another program to remove it. So looks like it's pretty much crap, and I'll remove that one. But I'm sure there's some place online where you can figure out how to remove any snake ransomware you have. You mentioned offsite backups, Mr. Betcher. This is not the first podcast that I've heard this year that has mentioned that should be the new hotness, is like, offsite backups, not on the machine or not on a network drive. It should be similar to how you do log files, right? Where it's like you're not storing the logs on the system that can be deleted. You're moving them to a SIM in this case. So there needs to be some kind of system where it will automatically upload those things, right?
Right. So I can push a backup, but I can't delete that backup.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I don't have privileges to delete it.
Yeah.
By default, if you set up Windows backup, it will have total rights to delete it whenever it wants. So, Yep.
And you can you said you put your shadow copies on another drive as well. What keeps the ransomware from moving to a different drive and just encrypting all of that as well?
Nothing. I mean, if it's on your system and it's like you have your operating system on the C drive,
right,
and your backup's on the D drive, well, it's the same computer, right?
Right.
Offline would mean through a network. Okay. And then that user, your system, would only have privileges to write.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, as I'm trying to do in the new year, we're going to keep it to roughly 30 minutes. We're already over, so we will go ahead and end the show now. I'm glad everybody's back and healthy and happy. Quickly, Ms. Berlin, you're going to be at EduCause. You're going to be anywhere else before the end of the month.
Oh my God, yeah. A lot of places, but the one thing I really do want to plug is we got Jeremy and I have our training accepted to Nolicon.
Nolicon, all right.
So we'll be giving our tabletop defend detect 2-day full-blown training at Nolicon. So
nice.
Super excited. We were coming up with injects and everything earlier today, and some of them are hilarious.
Awesome.
Like I have an inject about an outside contractor bringing in healing crystals to take away malware.
Oh, that's just wrong. Might work depending on what country or part of the world you live in, I guess. But so how would people find you online, and how would they get a hold of you if they wanted to find out about Nolicon, or you're going to be at Shmoo or whatever? How would they find out and talk to you?
I'll be at Shmoo too. So my Twitter is at InfoSystir, INFOSYSTIR. And we just created a new one today called InfoSec Roleplay to promote our training.
Okay, cool. And Hackers Health, of course, on Twitter, at Hackers Health, if you're interested in any mental health discussions or the like. So, Mr. Betcher, we mentioned LogMD before the show, but we're recording now. What is LogMD for those new listeners who haven't heard of it?
Yeah, it's a log and malicious discovery tool. I was just talking with Michael, the partner that I have that we both do the whole LogMD thing. Mm-hmm. And we came up with a list of videos that we might publish. And there's like 30 or 40 videos that we could do. I mean, It does so many things. And we just didn't realize that we put all these different features in it. And it's been about, 4 or 5 years since we started it. But yeah, it's a log and malicious discovery tool. It does a lot of things. And we got some new features coming out here in the next month that'll really let it shine. So yeah, that's what I do. in my spare time, if there is any spare time.
Yep.
Development. Even though, recently it came out that if you can shovel coal into a furnace, you can be a developer. So I don't really feel that.
I read.
Oh my!
I read that. Yes, I read that on Twitter.
Obviously can't do either.
So so I'm a developer. It's not that big a deal, really.
Right. So people can find LogMD at log-md.com.
That's right.
Awesome. And
go there and read about it. We've got tons of blog articles, tons of other things that you can use with it, like the cheat sheets.
Okay.
And things like that. So,
very cool.
Yeah, it's all on that website.
All right. And your Twitter is?
@BetcherPwned.
All right.
My last name, PWNED.
Nice. Okay. So BreakSec is not just a podcast. We are a conference. We have InfoSec Campout, which I'm going to be talking with our officers here in the next week or two. We're going to get tickets put out for that. I think Miss Berlin has suggested she's going to be at InfoSec Campout for Mental Health Village, which is badass.
It is on my calendar.
And if you could potentially maybe do that workshop, that would be okay too.
Oh, the training thing?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sorry. Whew. I got all tingly and shit.
So you have no idea. It's so much fun to do.
Awesome. I am so looking forward to that. So InfoSec Campout will be, we currently have it set August 28th, 29th, 2020, up here in Seattle. You will need to camp out. Well, you don't have to camp out, but it's, kind of fun. We have things and stuff, and we'll have more to do this year than we did last year. We are a local meetup. So if you're in the Seattle or Redmond or Bellevue area, we have CSEC East, which I'm the organizer of. And we have a Slack. A lot of people on the Slack. If you're looking to network, find jobs, do resume review, we try to treat the thing like a 24/7 conference. We have moderators. We have a social contract. If you're interested in getting involved in any of those things, the conference, the meetup, the Slack, you can join us on our Twitter. BreakSec Twitter is @BreakSec, BRAKESEC, and I'm Brian Brake on Twitter. That's my name, Brian Brake. And you can send us a DM to to the BreakSec Twitter or to our email bds.podcast@gmail.com and get more information. So we're looking forward to an awesome new year. And as always, I'm glad Mr. Betcher and Miss Berlin will be with me to experience that. So. That was it for this week on Breaking Down Security. Have a great week. Check out the links in our show notes for our Patreon store, our TPub store. Our thank you to our patrons for supporting the podcast. We use that as a tip jar to do hosting. Libsyn charges us for hosting. We also pay for the Zoom that we're using to do the show. Prepping and domain registration and all that other stuff, and just time getting a podcast out and building community. And we appreciate all of our patrons for doing so. So we have a TPub store if you want t-shirts and stuff. So that was it. Like I said, have a great week. Be nice to one another. Take care of yourself because you're the only you have. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.